Hey there, founders who feel like their business only moves when they push it. This one's for you. I'm Mark Scala, Amazon bestselling author and fractional CMO and COO. I help founders build systems at scale so that you can grow revenue, regain control, and get your life back. If that sounds like what you're chasing, give this video a like and hit follow. And if you're ready to talk about fixing your structure for real, hit the link in my bio and book a clarity call. So let's talk about what I call the Founder Flywheel. The difference between a business that only grows when you're grinding and a business that keeps gaining speed even when you step away. Most founders don't realize how much they've built their business like a bicycle. It only moves forward when they're pedaling. The second they stop, momentum dies. They've built effort-driven growth, not systems-driven growth. And that's why everything feels heavy. Because you're not running a company, you're actually powering one. And at first, it feels noble. You're hands-on, you're in the trenches, you're leading by example. But over time, that activity turns into dependency. Your company's success becomes tied to your availability. And that's not leadership, that's a trap. True scaling happens when your business builds its own momentum. When the systems, the people, the structure, they start feeding each other in a positive loop. A flywheel that spins faster over time, even with less direct energy from you. Here's how that works. A flywheel needs three things: force, friction control, and feedback. Force creates motion. Friction control keeps it spinning efficiently, and feedback ensures it accelerates instead of wobbling out of balance. And you can apply those same principles in your business. Force is the energy you inject into growth, your vision, your strategy, your marketing. But force alone isn't enough. And if there's too much friction in your business, bottlenecks, unclear roles, constant rework, all that energy gets wasted as heat. And without feedback, you never know which efforts are actually creating speed versus which ones are just burning fuel. That's why founders burn out. They're pouring in force without removing friction or building in feedback loops. No matter how hard they push, they never actually gain momentum. And the thing is, you don't need more force. You need a better design. Because once your flywheel starts spinning on its own, your role changes completely. You go from being the engine to being the engineer. You stop pushing and you start tuning. The founder flywheel has 4 stages. Most founders never make it past stage 2. So here's stage 1, founder force. This is where it all starts. You're hustling, you're selling, you're building, you're doing everything. The company moves because you move. That's natural early on, but it's not sustainable. Stage 2, reactive systems. At this point, you start hiring and adding tools, but everything still revolves around you. You're delegating tasks, not outcomes. You have systems. They're informal, they're inconsistent, and they're fragile. Every win depends on someone remembering what's worked the last time. And this is where 80% of founders plateau. Because to get to the next stage, you have to shift from reacting to designing. Stage 3 is structural systems. Here you start building processes that live outside your head. Documented workflows, automated handoffs, defined decision filters. It's where chaos starts to calm down, and it's the business begins to produce results without your daily input. This is where real momentum begins. You start seeing cause and effect. You can pull levers, test ideas, and scale without breaking the engine. And then comes stage 4, the flywheel effect. This is when every part of your business feeds the next. Marketing generates leads that sales then converts. Sales set clear expectations that operations fulfill, and operations deliver excellence that drives referrals and repeat business. Each part of the system amplifies the other. That's self-sustaining growth. That's your flywheel. When your business reaches this point, you no longer have to create energy. You have to maintain balance. You become the designer, not the driver. But to get there, you have to confront the real friction that's slowing you down. Friction doesn't just show up in broken processes. It shows up in how you lead. It shows up in how decisions are made, in how information moves throughout your organization. The biggest friction point I see is founder involvement. You're still in every thread, every meeting, and every approval. And that feels like control, but it's actually drag. You can't build a flywheel if you keep grabbing the spokes. To make your business spin faster, you have to remove the resistance, the things that rely on you out of habit, not necessity. And that's the hardest part for most founders because it feels like letting go. But what you're really doing is letting momentum take over. It's how you actually build your founder flywheel, that self-sustaining cycle of growth that keeps turning even when you're not pushing it. It actually starts with three simple but very powerful shifts we're going to go over. Shift one, design for transfer, not dependence. If every department, every client, and every decision still depends on you, your company can't build speed. It's like a flywheel with a rope wrapped around it. Every time it starts to spin, you yank it back. Design for transfer. That means building systems that allow work, responsibility, and information to move freely without getting stuck at the top. Document everything that currently lives in your head. Define what success looks like for every core process, from marketing to fulfillment to finance. Because when people can see the playbook, they can play without waiting for you to blow the whistle. Step two, automate momentum. Momentum is not built by chance, it's built by triggers. Every process in your business should naturally set the next one in motion. When a lead becomes a customer, it should automatically kick off onboarding. When a project is completed, it should automatically trigger invoicing and testimonial requests. When a client renews, it should automatically update forecasting and capacity planning. That's how you turn workflow into loops, not lines. Loops generate speed, lines end. Automation isn't about replacing people, it's about connecting the dots so that the business moves more fluidly. And shift number three, measure energy, not just output. Most founders measure what the business produces, but you also need to measure how much energy it costs to produce it. If revenue is going up, but effort's rising just as fast, you're not scaling, you're straining. The goal is to reduce the energy required per result. And that's how you know the flywheel is spinning efficiently. Create a simple dashboard with three numbers that really matter: revenue, margin, and hours required. If revenue and margin rise while hours drop or stay flat, you're winning. That's the formula for freedom. Once you apply these shifts, transfer, automate, and measure, you'll notice something very powerful. The business stops feeling like a weight and it starts feeling like a current. Things start moving faster all on their own. And you start to experience momentum that doesn't rely on your presence. And when that happens, your entire relationship with growth changes. You stop chasing more. You start optimizing better. You begin making higher quality decisions because you finally have the time and clarity to think instead of react. And that's what I mean by the Founder Flywheel, a business that creates its own velocity. One founder I worked with was building a thriving membership community, but was exhausted from doing everything. Every launch, every renewal, every new campaign, it all needed her personal touch. We mapped out her flywheel, starting with where her energy was constantly leaking. We replaced her manual launch process with an automated customer journey. We gave her operations manager the authority to run renewals using a documented playbook. And then we built a performance dashboard that showed in real time how the business was performing without her touching anything. Within 6 months, she took her first 3-week vacation in years, and the business kept growing. In fact, the numbers improved while she was gone because the system was finally running clean. She told me, "I realized I've been acting like the motor when I was supposed to be the mechanic." And that's the goal, to stop being the motion and to start being the momentum. When your flywheel is running right, you don't need to generate urgency every day. You don't have to push revenue uphill. You don't even have to remind people what to do. It's the system that carries the rhythm. And that's when your company becomes valuable, not just profitable. Because a business that runs without the founder is a business that can sustain growth, sell, and thrive. That's exactly what I cover in my book, The Leverage Point, because founders don't need to grind harder, they need to build smarter. The book walks you through how to map your own flywheel, defining force, removing friction, and building feedback loops that drive sustainable growth. It's the playbook for moving from founder-powered effort to system-powered momentum. And here's the bottom line. If your business only grows when you push it harder, it's not momentum, it's dependence. You don't need to pedal faster. You need to build something that spins without you. Stop being the motor, start being the mechanic. Once again, my name is Mark Scala. I help founders build systems that scale so that they can grow revenue, regain control, and get your life back. If this message resonated, like the video, hit follow, share it with another founder who's pedaling their business uphill. And if you're ready to design your own flywheel, grab a copy of my book, The Leverage Point, or book a clarity call using the link in my bio. Because true freedom doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from finally letting the system spin.